My name's Shane James Bordis. I am events coordinator at Foyles. The book that I've chosen is Ice by Anna Kavan. It's from 1967. At its most basic level, I suppose it's about an unnamed narrator who searches out a girl which he sort of symbolizes as an ice maiden. The book plays out as this weirdly dispassionate kind of love triangle between these three people, in a sense. And so their kind of internal coldness comes out in the landscape, and we're led to believe that there is a kind of literal Cold War, that, you know, one faction is trying to freeze out the landscape of the other, so things turn to ice and fall apart and crack. I'm always loath to kind of put too much stock into having to know what the author's autobiography is before you can really come to terms to understand the work. I do think they are separate, but at the same time, you can't deny that people's experiences do inform what they write. When she changed her name from her pen name from Helen Ferguson to Anna Kavan, I think with that came, you know, a different approach. It's almost, you could say like a dream, but I would actually might kind of say it might be possibly replicating a kind of drug state, since she, from what I understand, she felt that her heroin addiction helped her to write. Brian Aldiss, who championed Kavan because, you know, he knew her a little bit and felt that she was, you know, not well known enough. And I believe he championed Ice, or touted it as a science fiction novel, but he did that thinking that that would gain her probably the biggest audience, which to my understanding did work because it did gain her some attention. But I think he even admitted himself that he didn't actually personally consider it to be. It was too hard to kind of classify. The Ice, to me, it's played out externally, and so again, that's the faux sci-fi element, which is wonderful and wonderfully hallucinatory and really evocative. But I think it's an internal ice. I think it's an emotional ice. People are sort of ascribed labels and titles, but not given personalities per se in terms of having, you know, names and whatnot. And that kind of style is kind of unsettling. You know, it can seem to be maybe a little bit, you might mistake it for being flat. These are terms that could be used, you know, in a derogatory fashion, but they're not, I don't want to use them here to say that they're failings of the book, because they're strengths, actually. Kavan manages to take all these things that we think would be a failing and actually turn them into something of great power. And so it's a book that haunts you. It's a book that you can't really put your finger on, so you can go back to it and have a different experience every time you read it. And it has a richness.